Hi everyone, it's Lavinia. Welcome to today's video. I wanted to share with you some junk journal papers that I've put together and an upcoming junk journal challenge for July. So last month I saw someone put together different papers, like junk papers, whether it's magazines and book pages and scraps and whatnot, and I thought that was kind of a cool idea. And so here's one, I guess, journal that I started to make from it. So what she did and what I did following her is I just took magazine pages and book pages and made one big, huge, long, I guess you could say, roll. And then I took it to my paper trimmer and just trimmed it. So this one I already kind of sewed together, but here, for example, are some that I haven't sewn together, so you can kind of see it would be like one huge long roll. This was from a book of quotes, this from a magazine. I have coloring book pages, some book pages, so these would have all been, you know, the magazine page would have continued on, and I just glued them down different sizes and then just came and trimmed them to different sizes. And so I put them together, you know, in here, and I love the crinkly sound. So here, I'll go through them, but this is one that I sewed together and kind of started, but then didn't know where else to go. So I found this from an old planner, so I decided to glue that on here. And then I just had this as part of a scrap from that bee paper. If you saw that collab that Polly had. And then here too, I just decided to do some drawings with my dip pen and watercolors. Here I decided to glue this scrap down as a pocket. And then I had this in part of my scraps, this little pocket here, drew a flower. This is a scrap of vellum. It's embossed, and I glued that down as a pocket and glued this little piece of scrap. I drew a flower here using my dip pen. Here's another oddly shaped scrap. This is from an old pad, days of the week and like a to-do list. This too, I used my my dip pen and the ink that came with it. Another little bit of drawing here. This is gelatos, and I just watered it down. Here I used my soluble pencils. Again, some drawings up here. Glued that down. This is an envelope, and this is with Inktense pencils, so it's not watercolor. It's ink, I guess, and you dissolve it, but it doesn't move around as much as watercolor. And I want to finish this up by doing some drawing some birds here, going to the bird feeder. This is the other side of the envelope, and this is also with the Derwent Inktense pencils, and then just these Jelly Roll pens. Use those afterwards, just in the red, the black, and the blue. And I did a demonstration of this in one of my earlier videos, but using watercolor, but same kind of technique. Glued this down here as a little pocket. I love this page. I love this eye here. And then here I have a little but a little plastic bag that continues on. Here's a scrap where I had bought, I think at Michael's, a stamp of musical notes because I thought I could use that for my Christmas cards or holiday cards, and so I was testing it out with the inks. And then I just took, I think this is just some tatting thread, and just kind of went through, not any particular order. I may take out my sewing machine though if I do more of these. Just much easier, I think, than needle and thread. So now we're coming to the other side. So here is that envelope, and so this is from the Deck the Year 2025. I decided to put that card in there. This side is closed, but I thought what I could do is I have lavender outside, and maybe dry some of that lavender and just keep it in this envelope. So hopefully it won't poke out, but it has the holes here that maybe that scent would still come through, especially that the magazine is part of, I think it was like a Better Homes and Gardens. And then here I glued down another piece of that scrap, and this opens up like this. So there's like a little journaling spot, and I decided to put this scrap here. I used that We Are Memory Keepers ruler. And this kind of turns this way where, you know, if I wanted to tuck something in. I happened to see this quote. It says, "The cat, he walked by himself, and all places were alike to him." The cat that walked by himself. I don't know who the author is. But then I also used some of these stickers, these letter stickers. Whoops. That says cats. I did some more drawings. On this side here, I decided this isn't even a pocket. I just wanted to glue it down, and used some of that water-soluble pencil on here. This is the back side of that other envelope, and I glued down here this piece of scrap. There's a pocket here, and I really like this design from this envelope. So that's just the one of these envelopes here. I really like that. And again, just part of the magazine. This I glued down actually from, I think, the Birds and Blooms magazine. It was a rose. I glued that down, used gesso, went on top of it with the water-soluble pencils, and then used some water-soluble pastels, and just did that. So you can see part of the gray from that gesso, then just a darker part of that pencil, and then this is the water-soluble pastels. And I may do that as I go further into the journals, maybe showing you how I did this. I saw something similar to this from another YouTuber. And then here is the other part of this piece. So I did that, and then I used pastels, and I think one of the pens to with a template to test out this kind. So I figured that these journals can also be like for testing out different ideas. And here's the back part of that other to-do list. And then here, the way it glued, it's almost like a pocket. Well, it is a pocket, so I could use that. And then I decided to, well, I added this piece of ephemera, went around it. I think it was one of my Inktense pencils, but then I had these pieces of scrap from die cut set, and I decided to make it like a shaker. So I added some shaker pieces in there, and I thought that was kind of fun. And that's the back of it. And then, as I mentioned, I have other, from the continuation of that one big huge roll, I have these others. And again, they're all just different sizes. Again, just pieces of scrap, testing out the rulers that I have. You know, the way they fold it in doesn't matter. Again, it's a junk journal. Here I glued down this piece here as a pocket. I inserted this because it's on construction paper, so it's not really anything. Again, I was just testing out the folder, the embossing folder, so I decided to stick that in there. Again, here's another pocket with that embossed cardstock. I think I might have taken this out of order. Again, another piece of coloring book. So I really wanted to make this truly like junk. And then this was a piece of scrap from an old planner. And I liked the saying, it says, "It's your journey and your heart knows the way." And I thought I would just fold that and perhaps, make that the cover of this particular one. And then I also liked this too, was from the same planner. I like that design there. I could probably use it as cut-aparts, but I thought it'd be nice as a cover. And then here's the other the other ones that I have here. Again, it's not put together yet, but one of those little plastic baggies. This is a scrap of a watercolor. Was testing out some stamps here. Some music stamps that I have. Again, a piece of scrap paper. Coloring book page. That folds out this way. Another piece of scrap from a die cut. Another scrap here from a card. This is scrap fabric. I think it was from, I want to say it was from a tote bag that I had made a few years ago. And it's kind of cool. I thought that would be kind of fun maybe to insert stuff in there. Again, pieces of scrap, gessoed paper. Another bag. Another coloring page, and so that there. And I think one of these also has something that almost looks like a pocket, but just the way they glue is kind of fun. So those are it, and I wanted to show you the challenge that I found yesterday, and this is hosted by Leigh's Art and Junk Journal Wonderland, and I guess her handle sign is that Leigh Creates. I will link her in the description box. But she's hosting this Junk Journal July. And what she will be doing is giving prompts. And you just use those prompts to, do your art journal page. So I'm kind of excited about that because, again, like I said, I started this one and then it's like, okay, what do I do next? So I think having the prompts might be fun, and and just creating the different pages and journals. I do have quite a bit. So I don't know yet what the hashtag is going to be. I don't know if it's going to be called hashtag Junk Journal July. So I left this space here open, but she will be, I think, posting in a couple of days the prompts or a video about it. She already has a video on that she's going to be doing this, but as far as for the prompts, I'm not sure yet. So if you want to subscribe to her and join in, that would be fun, I think. But I have a whole box full of, of scraps. There's bags and envelopes and labels and cardstock, soda cans and things like that in here. And then I have also a big, huge bag, again, that has some fabrics and papers and things like that. So I'm going to be using these. There's ribbon and cards that I, am going to be using as part of this challenge, among other things like maybe newspapers or junk mail that we get in and other envelopes. So I hope you join in and take a look at Leigh's channel. I think that would be fun. I definitely wanted to get into junk journal, but like I said, kind of had stall in the road as to where to go to next. So I think this will be fun, and seeing what everyone else is doing. So thanks so much for watching, everyone. See you soon, and take care. Bye.